I'm Justin Rowe-Roberts of Biz News, and with me today is Reemah Sakaan, CEO of BritBox, a British streaming service which is coming to South African shores very shortly. Reemah, just by way of introduction, could you just give us some background on BritBox?
Sure. Hi, Justin. Thank you very much for having me on. So BritBox is sort of what it does what it says on the can. It's a British streaming service. It's a joint venture backed by the BBC and ITV, so a 50-50 joint venture, and got into the British streaming game back in 2017 with the first launch in the United States, rolled out to Canada, and launched in the UK, recently launched in Australia, and South Africa actually launched last week. So it's up, running and live in South Africa.
The on-demand streaming industry has become very competitive all over the globe. Why South Africa?
Well, we think, on-demand streaming is just, as you say, ubiquitous and everywhere. And clearly the way people really are enjoying watching TV and having, huge amounts of choice that we've never seen before. For BritBox to enter the game against the big American giants, we knew that we needed, something really distinctive and different. And we feel we have that. We've got a very distinctive point of difference. We're not trying to be a Netflix. We're the next thing to add if you just love this way of watching and you love British content. And why else would you go anywhere else for British content if you've got all of the BBC and all of ITV in one place? And so what comes out after that is obviously really, great growth streaming markets, but also great British affinity markets. And South Africa has always been a really fertile territory for UK content, and both from a sort of people who've lived in the UK and South Africans going back to South Africa, expats in South Africa, a generally similar taste and sensibility. And so it was a natural next step for us. Both the BBC and ITV have had successful TV channels businesses in the market. A couple of those closed recently, a couple of them closed last year. And so there's definitely a gap in terms of where people were looking to go for content, and an on-demand service that does that for them all in one place, as opposed to in lots of channels all over the place, is just a bit of a no-brainer, actually.
And who are you looking to take market share from? Is it more of the multi-choice, the DSTV, which is more of our television provider, or is it those American giants, the Netflix, the Disney Pluses, the Amazon Primes?
Yeah, it's kind of hard to say. It's not a sort of zero-sum game in streaming because it's growing so quickly, and actually people are watching more, so the pie is growing, as well as moving from linear TV channels into on-demand viewing. And so we don't really look at it in terms of who are we stealing share from. It's more kind of, can we ride that wave of kind of popularity and the way that people want to watch? And as I say, it's sort of, if you love American stuff, there's loads of great streamers for that. If you love UK stuff, it's a bit harder to know where to go to. And so this, I think, is a really complementary sort of service for people to add to their, sort of repertoire of channels and services. It definitely doesn't try and do the scale or the type of content that the big US streamers are doing. There's lots of opportunity for linkages in also with the satellite providers. Lots of them are carrying some of those streaming services as part of their bundles now as well. So it's quite a sort of complex thing to say, actually, this is going to land and then steal share from elsewhere. I think the good news is that in this world, sort of everybody is growing and benefiting because people are genuinely watching more, and particularly in the last year have been watching more.
Pricing perspective, where you guys at? Are you guys competitive against the likes of those American giants? I know, for instance, in South Africa, multi-choice's offering is a little bit more expensive. You're paying around 700 Rand a month for their premium subscription. What are your pricing points like?
Yeah, we peg ourselves, just beneath the big majors, and that's because, we're sort of specialist and boutique and run that, but it's a super premium product. The quality of it. So, it's $99.99 per month with a 1 week free trial. And then there's an annual plan you can buy as well at $999 for the whole year, which gets you 2 months free as well. So, it's really competitively priced, I think, versus the quite significant contract commitments that sometimes people have to make. But that's also the beauty of streaming, really, is that it's quite easy in. There's always a free trial. You can do it on a monthly basis, a lot more flexible than I think TV packages have been in the past.
And what other jurisdictions are you targeting for growth going forward? You said that South
it's
Africa.
world domination, obviously. No, I'm joking.
You did say, which I found very interesting, was that South African viewers love the unique British content. So I wouldn't say that would be unique to other developing economies, but which other jurisdictions are you looking at?
Yeah, as you say, we've got lots of experience of where British content exports well. And so, they are the markets that we are already in. We're also looking at, parts of Europe where UK quality content does really, really well. There's parts of Asia, Latin America, there's pockets of real strength everywhere. I think what's really interesting, though, particularly with digital platforms, is that you can switch on territories quite easily. It's app based. You can turn on and light up territories relatively easily compared to things like satellite and cable access and those sorts of things. So we've got a really open mind as to where next. We know that there's real pockets of strength in the rest of Africa. We're very interested in that. It would make a lot of sense for us to extend to that. We've talked about getting to a number of around 25 markets, which is, small in the, shadow of 191 territories that Netflix operates in, but clearly it's a much more select process for us to do that. But we're really excited because you can, try as you go, and you can test these things and research them until you're blue in the face. And sometimes you just have to, go for it, launch in a market and see how it flies. So the other thing that's happening is, international television is really making strides. So we now find ourselves, we're watching French dramas, we're watching Spanish dramas, we're watching Israeli dramas in a way that I don't think 5 years ago was really happening. And a lot of that is to do with streaming, opening up windows and access to things we wouldn't have watched before. And so, I sort of never say never in terms of where something like BritBox could work. Sort of the enduring quality and just the length of time and the back catalogue we have, as well as all of the new shows we bring, just means that we've got an awful lot to play with in terms of putting together a great quality offering.
Staying on the general industry, I was on a Netflix conference call recently, and they say that the streaming era has just begun.
Yeah.
With data and whatnot, the runway is huge. Are you guys extrapolating those kind of numbers yourself?
Yeah, absolutely. And, that's where it's so hard. I think anyone that makes predictions in this space and says, oh, it's definitely going to this, it's really only just begun. If you put it in the context of television, we're at the foothills of really having, data and learning to say there are hard and fast rules. It's a big disruptor in the world's, biggest entertainment sector. And so I think, we have to bear in mind that we keep open to the types of content that's going to, it's all really been, the engine room has been scripted. However, we see, real strength on BritBox in terms of lifestyle programming, cookery, gardening, things that, previously haven't necessarily been what you would turn to streaming for, reality, entertainment shows. It's sort of, there's a whole new world of how streaming services, I think, can present content to people. Live is really moving into the heart of streaming. And before, it's always been, it's a kind of catalog. So you go through and you pick on demand. And now, live events in streaming are, the next big thing. And over time, it just becomes more like the whole world of entertainment and television rather than what it was. So it's super exciting. I think there's so many opportunities that the delivery platform allows you to do. And from a consumer point of view, it's so easy and, accessible that, it doesn't have a lot of the risks around trying new things that I think previous entertainment and linear television has had.
I wouldn't be doing my job properly if I wasn't going to be the devil's advocate here. But despite this huge runway, is the market not becoming a bit, or the industry rather, not becoming a bit diluted? It seems almost similar to passive investing. It's a race to zero fees, to put it that way.
Yeah, it's a really good point. Look, the flip side of consumers have never had it so good is that it was impossible to get all this amazing quality, all of this choice, all of this flexibility at such a low price ever before, because it's an expensive product to make. This is really still the same stuff, but presented in a different way. So scale is really, really important, reaching critical mass of scale. But there's also lots of really new, interesting funding models and the ways in which television is being made that allows for more flexibility within that. I mean, I think it's not a blip. It's definitely here to stay. I think back to what I was saying at the beginning, having a really pointy proposition. Why do you get noticed? Why you? Are people clear about what they go to you for? And I think in some sense, some of the bigger generalists and the bigger studios that are creating their own services have got a little bit of sameness to them. Okay, if I want big, US shiny content, where do I go? Well, I can name you 10, and so I think being sure that you are clear what your purpose is and what people come to you for, and that you really carve out your distinctive positioning is as important as, then making sure that you keep your scale and growth, your pricing isn't a race to the bottom, as you say, because we could all just engineer ourselves out of a profitable business. I'm
Justin Rowe-Roberts of BizNews, and you've been listening to